your nation, your province, your southern Alberta. From the heart of Lethbridge, it's Bridge City News Weekend Edition.
Hello, I'm Naveen Day. Thanks for joining us this Saturday, August the 2nd. Prime Minister Mark Carney says Canada intends to recognize Palestine as a state in September if the Palestinian Authority agrees to undertake elections next year. He says it's important to work towards a two-state solution, saying this has been undermined by the Hamas attack on Israel in 2023, as well as Israeli policies in Gaza and the West Bank. Here's his announcement.
This intention is predicated on the Palestinian Authority's commitment to much-needed reforms, including commitments by the Palestinian Authority's President Abbas to fundamentally reform its governance, to hold general elections in 2026 in which Hamas can play no part, and to demilitarize the Palestinian state. Prospects for a two-state solution have been steadily and gravely eroded, including by the pervasive threat of Hamas terrorism to Israel and its people, culminating in the heinous attack of October 7, 2023, and the terrorist organization Hamas's long-standing violent rejection of Israel's right to exist and its rejection of a two-state solution. The deepening suffering of civilians leaves no room for delay in coordinated international action to support peace, security, and the dignity of human life. Preserving a two-state solution means standing with all people who choose peace over violence or terrorism. And it means honoring their innate desire for peaceful coexistence.
U.S. President Donald Trump's threat to raise his tariff on Canadian goods entering the United States to 35%, up from 25%, are now a reality. Prime Minister Mark Carney's negotiating team was back in Washington for trade talks this week, but Canada's plan to recognize a Palestinian state may have made the situation worse. In a post on social media early Thursday morning, the president said it will be very hard to make a deal with Canada after Mark Carney announced Wednesday Ottawa intends to recognize a Palestinian state. Natural Resources Canada seismologist John Cassidy says the massive Russian quake that sent tsunami waves towards British Columbia on Tuesday was the same type of tremor experienced off Canada's west coast. He says data from the quake will help inform the science of tsunami generation and future emergency responses in BC.
We have the same type of earthquakes off the coast of Vancouver Island, Washington, Oregon, and off of Haida Gwaii as well. So we'll be looking at data from this earthquake that will tell us something about how the seafloor moved and how that related to tsunami generation. It's also an important reminder for all of us living along the West Coast, especially, that this is an active earthquake zone. It's an active tsunami zone.
To be blunt, when I heard about it, it's so far away. It's in Russia. It's halfway around the world from where we are. What are we really going to see in British Columbia? I had to overcome that feeling that maybe people were overreacting a little bit. And the other piece of it is, and what was underlined for me in the briefings that I received, is just how unpredictable these can be. That the seismologists and the people who are expert in this area try their best to predict what the impacts will be, but we could actually see a significant impact here in British Columbia, and people need to be prepared. That's why I rely heavily on people who are expert in this area, and was very glad for their advice on it. It was a trial run. Fortunately, we didn't see a huge impact here in BC.
The head of the Ontario Crown Attorneys Association accuses politicians, the media, and members of the public of attacking the justice system. Donan Kelway calls recent responses to two high-profile criminal cases, quote, affronts to the rule of law. She specifically mentions cases linked to the Freedom Convoy and a recent Hockey Canada trial and the criticism they received. Several Conservative MPs have attacked the Crown's approach to sentencing two key organizers of the Freedom Convoy, while a recent Toronto Star opinion piece questioned why female lawyers would represent men accused of sexual crimes in the Hockey Canada trial. Last week, we spoke about the upcoming sentencing hearings for two Freedom Convoy leaders, Tamara Lich and Chris Barber, who were found guilty of mischief for their roles in the 2022 Ottawa protests, will not be hearing a verdict until later this year. Are delays like this normal? To chime in on this and other issues is our political reporter Brian Lilley, who sat down with BCN's Jeanette Roche.
This seems abnormally long. So, the hearings happened last week. It was Wednesday and Thursday of last week. The Crown asking for a ridiculous sentence of 7 years for Tamara Lich and 8 years for Chris Barber. You can support them. You can hate them. You can think that they are the worst people on the planet. There's no way that they should be getting 7 and 8 years, but that's what the Crown was asking for. And the judge in this case, who is not known for being harsh in sentencing, decided to take until October 7th of this year before she will deliver her verdict. Now, consider this. The convoy happened in January and February of 2022.
Yeah.
This is beyond ridiculous. This brings the whole justice system into disrepute, as does, I believe, the sentencing recommendation by Dallas Mack, who is the Crown attorney for Ottawa. The idea that we've got to wait until October of this year, that'll be 3.5 years, or more than 3.5 years, since the arrest to actually get to the point of sentencing.
Yeah. Let's turn our eyes to the west for a minute here. So here in Alberta, so we know that Pierre Poilievre, Conservative leader, is running for his seat. And so there's a whole mess going on with that riding in Battle River Crowfeed. So we know that there's an attempt to mess with the ballot in that by-election. And it may have even backfired. So Elections Canada now says that they will use what they're calling an adapted ballot. So isn't this essentially a write-in ballot? People have to write the names of the candidates now?
Yeah, it's going to be a write-in ballot, and you will have a long list of all the candidates in front of you. And then you will go into the little
200 or something. It's ridiculous, the list of candidates.
It is ridiculous. And this is the Longest Ballot Committee, as they call themselves.
Yes.
They have decided that they're going to try and force some electoral reform by being idiots. Now, sorry for being blunt here, but they are being idiots. And they did this in Carleton in the general election. They're doing it now in the by-election. And they've just signed up all these people who have no interest in being an actual MP. They have no interest in the issues of the particular riding, be it Carleton in the general or Battle River Crowfoot in the by-election. But they want to try and make their point that there needs to be electoral reform. I don't know how this makes the point.
And speaking of the Battle River Crowfoot riding, 10 candidates vying for the federal seat squared off in a debate Tuesday night in Camrose, Alberta. The most high-profile candidate is Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre, who is trying to get back into the House of Commons after losing his Ottawa area seat in the recent federal election. But several candidates are not happy with Poilievre parachuting into the riding.
And while I may have run as a centrist with Conservative leanings, I firmly believe that the Conservative Party of Canada has lost its way, and I fully intend on standing up for my neighbours. When our previous guy sells us out to let the guy from Ottawa come in, that is not right. I firmly believe that we need somebody here who understands our local issues. So that is who I am, and that is what I am here for. I am here to stand up only for my neighbours.
And now I want to take the local issues and provide national leadership to fight against the electric vehicle mandate, because driving a pickup truck is a local issue in the communities across this region. To fight for law-abiding firearms owners, to fight for farmers, and to expand our military. These are local issues that require national leadership, and it would be a privilege to provide.
As of Monday, more than 200 candidates were registered to run in the by-election, including Liberal candidate Darcy Spady, the NDP's Catherine Swampy, and dozens of others sponsored by the Longest Ballot Committee protest group. Because of that ballooning number, Elections Canada has decided voters will use a write-in ballot instead of the traditional list of names when they go to the polls. Some news in the entertainment world: the rumor mill continues to churn for Justin Trudeau and Katy Perry. The former Prime Minister was spotted at the U.S. pop star's Montreal concert on July 30th. One video posted on X shows Trudeau clapping and nodding his head as the fireworks singer commands the stage. This was days after they dined together at a plateau eatery called La Violon on July the 28th. Perry recently split from longtime partner and actor Orlando Bloom and is currently on tour. Her tour stops in Quebec City on August the 1st and Toronto August 5th and 6th. Trudeau and his ex-wife Sophie Gregoire split in 2023. And speaking of Katy Perry, the pop sensation and a Redcliffe, Alberta superfan put the city of Medicine Hat on the map. At her concert at Vancouver's Rogers Arena last week, Perry brought fan Braden Palumbo on stage, and when she asked where he was from, she went through the formative experience of being conceptually introduced to the Gas City. Following her wide-eyed reaction to the name Medicine Hat, she asked, "Your hats are filled with medicine?" Take a look.
I just put my hands up in the air like a crazy person and just screamed at the top of my lungs, and she noticed me, and I was just screaming, pick me, you need to notice me.
I said Medicine Hat, Alberta.
Medicine Hat? Yes. Medicine Hat?
Correct.
Medicine Hat?
Correct.
Your hats are full of medicine.
If you say so.
I definitely did expect her to not know where Medicine Hat was. But with that being said, though, I do live in Redcliffe. So when you say Redcliffe, people are like, what? But when you say Medicine Hat, people are like, oh, I know where that is. But for her being a big superstar like that, I totally knew that she didn't know where that was.
Medicine Hat inherited its name from the Blackfoot word samis, an eagle tail headdress worn by medicine men in a number of Blackfoot legends. There's more to come from around Alberta, so stay with us. Welcome back. Here's more what's happening. A referendum question about Alberta staying in Canada is moving forward, and organizers can now start gathering names on a petition. Former Deputy Premier Thomas Lukaszuk is heading up the Alberta Forever Canada Citizen Initiative. He met the deadline to have a chief financial officer in place as required under the Citizen Initiative Act. The group can now officially begin gathering signatures. They will need to gather 239,976 signatures, which is 10% of the eligible voters from the 2023 provincial election. The group's referendum question is, do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada? The Alberta Prosperity Project has a competing pro-separation referendum question. That question seeks a yes or no answer to, do you agree that the province of Alberta shall become a sovereign country and cease to be a province in Canada? That question has been referred to a judge to decide if it contravenes the Constitution. Alberta legislative correspondent for the National Post, Tyler Dawson, explains what happens next.
What happens now is a little bit anyone's guess. The Thomas Lukaszuk group now needs to gather the signatures from Albertans because there's a threshold of signatures that need to be reached under the Citizen Initiative Act in order to get the referendum question before Albertans. They have until October 28th to do that. Now, if they achieve that before the Alberta Prosperity Project folks get their court stuff sorted out and gather their signatures, there can't be two referendum questions on the same topic at the same time. First of all, it doesn't make any sense. Second of all, it's against Elections Alberta rules. So they are out in front of Elections Alberta a little, or out in front of the Alberta Prosperity Project a little bit on this. So I guess we'll have to see how this sort of shakes out, but certainly this court delay is something that the pro-separation folks are not very happy about.
Lethbridge police have taken a suspect into custody following a high-risk incident Thursday afternoon. Police responded to a call of a male armed with a weapon inside a building that is under construction in the 900 block of 1st Avenue South. Police were asking members of the public to avoid the area. Few details have emerged. However, police say they were able to take one man into custody. They say the investigation is ongoing, and at the time of this newscast, no charges have been laid. Lethbridge City Council has approved funding towards body-worn cameras for members of the Lethbridge Police Service. The funding will come from the Municipal Revenue Stabilization Reserve as a one-time allocation to the tune of $555,000 this year. Starting next year, frontline officers with the Lethbridge Police Service will begin wearing the cameras, a move driven by a provincial mandate aimed at increasing transparency and public trust in law enforcement. LPS Chief Shaheen Medizadeh explains what this represents for the city and what benefits it will bring.
Really increases the level of transparency for the police. These devices can provide us with much better evidence collection and cases to the courts. In addition, it's going to also address some of the complaints against the service where we have actually video, audio footage of some of the complaints at times that public comes to us, and which we can really expedite those investigations to move forward. There has to be training, yes, because just putting a piece of equipment doesn't work if they are not fully trained. We'll be looking at 160 cameras. In fact, the number is closer to 160. We are not purchasing the cameras, we are leasing them, because the leasing is the best way to have this. That way there's services provided by the vendor to actually, for if the cameras break down or the new model comes up, we don't have to constantly adding cost and purchasing new stuff.
Lethbridge police are urging residents to obey the rules of the road in construction zones after issuing multiple tickets and warnings to drivers on and near Whoop-Up Drive. Construction and rehabilitation work on Whoop-Up has closed multiple lanes and exits for commuters traveling on Whoop-Up Bridge, which will be in place until September. However, LPS say the amount of traffic offenses they have issued since last week has been surprising. BCN's Landon Hickok was on location with more.
The traffic response unit for the Lethbridge Police Service has been cracking down on various traffic violations such as speeding and illegal U-turns while Whoop-Up Drive behind me undergoes rehabilitation work for the summer. According to the traffic response unit, last week they undertook a traffic enforcement project where over 50 tickets were issued to drivers who were traveling at high rates of speed on Whoop-Up Drive in an active construction zone, most going 20 to 30 kilometers over the limit, while one driver reportedly clocked in over 45 kilometers over the limit.
It is a very narrow lane where you're driving and there's workers present, so people have to obey the speed limits. It's 30, then it goes to 50. And if you're doing 85 with workers present, it's very dangerous for them who are 5 feet away from the vehicles.
The rehabilitation work has caused the closure of the off-ramp for drivers traveling on northbound Scenic Drive to westbound Whoop-Up Drive. Patrol officers say that on Monday they have seen a surging increase of illegal U-turns at the intersection of the 500 block of Scenic Drive South, where on Monday they stopped 67 offenders.
There's not many roadways to get to the west side. There's only 2 options basically, and once those roads get busy, it does increase time and people do get frustrated. And as well, if there's construction going on, obviously it's going to increase people's frustrations. But people have to slow down, take their time, and take alternate routes if it does get busy.
Police continue to advise motorists to add a little extra time to their commute to avoid frustration due to road closures and delays. The fine for an illegal U-turn is $162, while speeding in an active construction zone with workers present in Alberta is double. For BridgeCityNews, I'm Landon Hickok.
Folks in the southeastern Alberta community of Bow Island will have to do a little hunting for emergency medical care this weekend. Bow Island is about 100 kilometers northeast of Lethbridge. Alberta Health Services says the emergency department at the Bow Island Health Centre will be closed this weekend due to lack of clinical coverage. It says an ongoing personnel shortage makes it unable to secure regular and consistent coverage during the remainder of the week. AHS says weekend coverage from 7 a.m. Fridays to 7 a.m. Mondays will resume on August the 8th. During the temporary closure, nursing staff will remain on site to provide care for long-term care residents. If you have an emergency, you're asked to call 911. EMS services are prepared to respond to emergency events and support interfacility transfers to neighboring sites. Patients seeking care can access emergency services at the Tabor Health Centre or at the Medicine Hat Regional Hospital. STARS Air Ambulance is about to reach new heights, and that is thanks to a milestone donation out of Tabor. STARS and the Tabor Charity Auction are celebrating a significant milestone in their long-standing partnership. More than $1,030,000 in cumulative giving to STARS, and the addition of the charity's logo on the tail fin of a STARS helicopter, an exclusive space reserved for key community partners. Mike Lamacchia with STARS says the bump in donations helps keep the air ambulance in the air.
What it does is it continues to support our operations. So this helicopter behind us needs money to operate. So whether it's the people that are flying in it, or the fuel, or the maintenance, that's what this money is going to, is directly to support our operations.
STARS was the first organization to receive support from the Taber charity auction following a mission in which a local resident involved in a motor vehicle accident was flown to hospital by STARS. In response, locals Jack and Debbie French founded Taber Charity Auction. Co-chair for the TCA, Mitch Holst, says a recent boost in income has helped their commitment to STARS surpass the $1 million mark.
The last couple of years have been kind of our stronger years, our more, we've had the most support, the most donations, the most revenue generated to be able to give back to the community. And so it's been very cool over the last few years to raise almost $500,000 in 2 years, 2 nights. And that is due to the incredible community support that we have here in Taber and the kindness of everyone around us in this Taber and Vauxhall area.
Last year, STARS carried out 293 missions across southern Alberta, 15 of which were to Taber. For Bridge City News, I'm Naveen Day. Tourism Lethbridge is pleased with the early response to its new app. The Explore Lethbridge app, which launched in June, has more than 300 users already signed up. Dominika Wojcik at Tourism Lethbridge explains the app was originally developed for the frontline workers to get them to engage with our attractions and have answers when visitors ask them questions.
It is our goal to offer more product development, and this app answers that because what it does is it creates itineraries and packages and just ties them up really nicely in a nice bow for people to really easily be able to experience our city. So Sip Taste Explore, that's currently on there, has a variety of attractions, businesses, restaurants, so people can really head downtown, head throughout the city and take a look at what is here. We have Legacy Park on there, which we think is just a great, beautiful park. Analog Books as one of our local stores that's on there. And then there's places like Penny Coffee House, just kind of a nod to the local food piece and really just giving people a variety of different places to experience. We are hoping to be launching many more passes. The next one to launch coming soon is our Lethbridge Live Tour. And so what that's going to be is a tour that actually showcases all of the live music, comedy, and all of that that's happening in our city.
You can learn more by clicking to explorelethbridge.app. Now take a look at this open parking lot. Soon it will be filled with amusements and attractions as Whoop Up Days quickly approaches. However, this year attendees will get an extended length of the Midway Madness.
It's an idea that was actually brought to us by West Coast Amusements, our Midway operator. Their schedule changed a little bit, and they had a Sunday available, which hasn't been available to us for many years here in Lethbridge. So we said, yeah, let's give it a shot. Let's see if the community wants some more of that Whoop Up Days action. So we'll be open on the Sunday. It'll be not quite the full Whoop Up Days experience. It'll be mainly focused around the Midway, the food trucks, and the beer garden. So a bit of a reduced experience. But with that, it's only a $5 admission. You get to come in. The whole Midway is set up.
Whoop Up Days runs August 19th to 23rd. And be sure to watch out for Bridge City News while you are there. Coming up after the break, human trafficking may not be something you think that takes place in Canada, but unfortunately, that is not the case. While we recognize World Day Against Trafficking in Humans on Wednesday, Joylyn Stickle, Executive Director of Not For Sale, shares some staggering statistics with BCN's Paul Arthur. And if you're watching us online, that full interview is available on our YouTube channel.